Hello, programmers. We are moving on into our part two of the HTML series. So, from where we left off, we are going to continue with step 11. So, if you remember, at step 10, we added an anchor element after the paragraph. So, that's what anchor tags mean. Basically, when you put right now, it's not showing anything because we haven't added anything in between the less than sign, less than and greater than sign. So on step 11, it's asking us to add a text in between this anchor tag. So I'm going to go ahead and add link to cat pictures as my text. So now I have link to cat pictures as my text. So what's going to happen is whenever I click on link to capture, it is going to direct me to my link, freeCADPhotoApp.com. Let's submit our code and yay, we're moving on. So now it is telling us that we can turn a text into a link by surrounding the text with the anchor tag. So we are going to turn in the paragraph, we're going to turn cat photo into a link. So what that means is I'm going to surround it with anchor tags, just like this. And make sure you always close your tag first, because you might forget and it will throw an error. And let's not forget about our href. So what this means is whenever the user clicks on cat photo, it will redirect, the browser will redirect us to freecatphotoapp.com. And that's why it's highlighted in blue on the right. I'm just removing the extra space here for clarity. So yeah, that's what I have. So when I click on cat photo, it will open a new link that goes to freecatphoto. So now we are going to delete the anchor tag at the bottom because we don't need it. That's what we did on the top. We are going to add a target attribute with the value blank to the anchor tag. What I mean is, you know how when you open a link, sometimes it automatically open into a new tab? That's how you do it. So you use target as the property and the value is blank, the same way it is written, underscore blank. So step 15, we're going to turn the image into a link. So how you do it, anytime you're asked to turn something into a link, you wrap that something with the anchor tag. So now we have the entire image from the start to the end. So we're going to wrap that with our A and make sure you close your tag just like that. And then we have to tell the browser where do we want to be redirected when the user click on this image. So that's why we are adding this link in between our quotation marks. So now when the user click on the picture, it will open up a new page that goes to that link. Step 16, we are going to take H2, the comment, the P, and the anchor element, and we are going to wrap them into a new element called a section. So basically a section, think of a section like the same way it means in English, I guess. It's a section. It's a way for us to understand what we are trying to understand our code better, but it also is good semantics. So the browser, it helps with search engines. The browser is able to know exactly things within a section belongs together. So that's a new element we're learning. And yeah, that's all about section. It doesn't do anything to our site. It just adds more meaningful information um, to our code. So now we are adding a second section, as simple as that. And within that second section, we are going to add a new H2 element with a text cat list. So I'm just going to write cat lists, and you can see it added the word cat list. And notice how cat list and cat photo are also the same size because both of them are H2. So now we are adding an H3 a little bit lower, just below the H2. We are writing things cats love. So notice how now things cats love is a little bit smaller than our H2. So that's our H3 tag. Uh-oh, I made a mistake. Basically, like I said earlier, if you don't get the spelling right, you add an extra space, the browser, it will just tell you that it's wrong. So make sure that you are getting your spelling right. Otherwise, you can spend hours and hours trying to figure out what went wrong, but it's simply because you added an extra space or you missed something. So now we're learning about a new element called UL, and that stands for an ordered list. So what an ordered list is, you know how when you make a list and you put bullet points, basically there is no order. You can take the second element instead of the first element. So those are an ordered list. It doesn't have anything yet, but that's how you create an ordered list. So now we are going to add items to our list. And you do that adding the LI, the list element. So let's add our items into our list. So we do li open and close. What I like to do is to highlight the whole thing and just copy paste it 3 times. And then I'm gonna add my text. And notice how you have bullet points now on the right. There is no order to this list. That's why we call them an ordered list. So an ordered list are comprised of list item. Now we're going to add an image after our list. And if you remember, image is img. It's a self-closing tag. And image, you have to tell the browser what's the source, meaning where do you want the browser to fetch this image from? And that's going to be our link. And remember to always put quotation marks. And we have another attribute, which is the alt attribute. If you remember what it does from our previous video, alt attribute basically just tell the browser what that image is, and that's specifically helpful whenever you're using a screen reader, if or whenever the image is not being able to be fetched because you made a mistake or something like that, it will tell the user what the image is. That's what we use the alt attribute for. So now we are going to learn a new element called the figure element. So basically, it's just a self contained content and it allows us to associate image with captions. So we are going to wrap this image within a figure element. So that means we put figure on top and don't forget to close your tag at the bottom. All right. So now that we have the image, we're going to add fig captions. So that's a new element. So fig captions are going to go underneath our image as a caption to our image. So we're going to add our text, cats love lasagna. I don't know about you, but those lasagna kind of looks good. It's making me hungry. But yeah, anyway, step 25, we're going to emphasize the word love in the fig caption element. And that's a new element that we're learning. It's called the EM element, which stands for emphasis. So if I was reading this, it would be like, cats love lasagna. I don't know if it's true. Is it actually true that cats actually love lasagna? Let me know. I don't know. I've never had cats. So that's how you use the emphasis element. So now, step 26, we're going to add an H3 element which says top three things cats hate. Notice how those H3 have the same size. So now we are adding a figure to underneath our ordered list. And inside this figure, we are adding an image. And how you do it is IMG. And remember, images are self-closing. Images also have sources, which tells the browser where to get this image from. And that's why I'm adding my image in between quotation marks. So step 30, we're going to add an alt attribute within our image. Remember, the alt attribute role is to let the user know what the image is. And that's specifically helpful for impaired people, visually impaired people. The screen reader will tell them what the image actually is. Step 31, we are going to add a fig caption inside our figure tag. So fig caption are basically a description of your image. And yeah, that's what it looks like. Step 32, we're going to learn about the strong element. And strong element is a way to indicate that something is of a strong or urgent importance. So these are semantic element, so they provide meaning. And the way the browser indicates that is by putting it in bold. So notice how the word hate is now in bold. That's because we've wrapped the word hate in between the strong element. We're going to add now a new section, a third section below the second section. So scroll down and open tag section. And that's it. It doesn't do anything because we haven't added anything to our section yet. And now inside this section, we're going to add an H2 element with the text cat form. All right. Next, we are going to add a heading, no, a form, pardon me. And yeah, that's a new element called form, as simple as that. It doesn't do anything, but because again, we don't have anything in our form yet. So step 36 is to add an action to the form. And basically it means whenever, we use form to submit data. And this means that whenever we submit a form, it's going to be redirected to this link above. Step 37, we are going to nest an input element in the form. So input elements are those elements that receive text from the user. If you remember filling up a form one day, you had something like name, and then you have to put your name. Those are called input because they receive data from the user. And inputs are also self-closing tag, just like images. So that's all we're doing. We do want text, and how you do it is by using the type attribute. My apologies. I actually said text instead of type. So it's type, which is the attribute, and the value is text. So what this means is that the kind of input we are trying to get from the user is going to be a text. So you might be wondering, how do we know, like, do I have to remember all this, like type text? So this is a good time to show you a new resource called MDN, and go here and type HTML, and this will list all the element we've spoken about. Like, what did we talk about? We talked about figure. Now we're talking about forms, and it actually gives you how to use those elements. That's why I said you don't have to remember all this because it's already given to you. You just need to know where to look and what to look for. So for example, here we see that our input has a type and the value of the type is text because we want the user to put a text. So yeah, if you look on the left, you have input. So let's say you have some sort of input and you don't know what type. You want to find out, okay, what are the types? So I can have a button, a checkbox, a color input. So all this are all the various input you could have. So this is why you don't need to remember any of these. The documentation is there for you and it is absolutely free. So we are using the text, and I really like this because it also shows you what it would look like. So you have text, you have URLs, and this is good because if you put a text as your input and the user is trying to add a number, it will throw an error message telling the user that you're not supposed to use digit or numbers. So coming back here, that's how you know that the type is supposed to be text. So now we're going to add the name attribute with the value of cat photo or phototoral. I can't read that. So we're gonna write attribute equals, so name equals cat photoral. That's Such a weird name. But anyway, that's what we're going to paste here and check your code. And now you can see in your form you have an input that can only accept text. So now we are going to add a placeholder to our input. Placeholders are a way to indicate the user what to write. I'm sure you've all seen when you're trying to fill up a form and it tells you write your name or my name is. Those are called placeholders. So here we're going to write cat photo URL as a way for us to let the user know, hey, you need to put a URL here. So you can see at the bottom on the right that it's written cat photo, but I could still input my text. And when I do that, the text, the placeholder disappear. Check your code and congratulations, your code passed. So step 41, to prevent user from submitting a form whenever, you know, they haven't, let's say, fill up a name yet, but they're trying to submit a user, the form, we use an attribute called required. So what required does is if you're trying to submit a form without filling up all the necessary field, HTML, the browser will throw an error letting you know that this is required. I'm sure we've all seen that. And that's how you do it, by just writing required. It doesn't have a value. You just write required. As simple as that. So now if I try to submit this form without filling up the text, it will reject my it will throw an error basically. So this is it for the second part. The third part will be coming up, and I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I hope you feel proud of yourself so far. We are close to finish this project, and yeah, that's it.